Many actually can. But the problem is, after you spot them, can you put a plan and act on it? Many people at this time can't. Because a lot of people couldn't push themselves out of the comfort zone. And so your managers, many relies on our managers, but your managers doesn't necessarily have the expertise or nor the perspective. And if you can be the one that take the initiative, I can guarantee you'll be noticed, for sure. And with good communication, good collaboration, because sometimes just being noticed doesn't do the job. It could be even worse. But at least if you want to be successful, the first, you got to be noticed. Collaboration. So society is getting increasingly specialized. There's almost no self-sufficient in the world. Now, when in your professional line of work, you always being given put in the situation that you just cannot resolve all problems by yourself. And the traditional way is, oh, I'm going to refer to my manager because I need so and so and so and so in other group to do it. Well, I can guarantee that most of the time, your manager won't appreciate, because that's probably the last thing he wants to get involved, or she wants to get involved. And if you can be the one that corral the group and get everybody line up, their resource, their vision, their willingness to work on this, and actually get the problem resolved, hey, you will stand out, you will be noticed, because there's not many people can do it. And if you're the one, great for you. And also, with those collaboration capability and everything, it's all great. But one thing important is you must be able to present yourself right. Presentation is substance and style. You must have great substance, or style doesn't matter. But if you don't have style, your substance may be devalued. And as you move up the rank, the executive presence getting more and more important. As managers, your job is to solve a problem and solve another problem. As you move up, your job is to create a vision, to create a culture, to create an environment for others to solve the problem. Of course, you also need to be able to solve the problem yourself. Otherwise, there's no leadership there. So as we all move up the rank, make sure that you also learn how to present yourself correctly. That comes back to the discussion of communication. And I would certainly encourage us to try, and don't get discouraged thinking that you probably aren't that good in communication. A lot of us can. With education background, we can. Try it. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Glass ceiling. Can in this group, in this community, get out of a serious conversation without touching the glass ceiling? I guess it's pretty hard because it does exist everywhere, a lot of places. Now I can give you one of my examples, very bloody. For the first 10 years in the United States, I refused to change my name. So my name is always spelled -Lee. I refused to change it. So that worked great. In year 2000, early 2000, I was working for a company called IXL. I think many of you probably still remember it. It's a big name at the time. In Atlanta practice, there are 4 groups, 4 directors, and I was one of them. In the late spring, there was a new GM came to the VP of engineering at a town hall. And so he introduced, this is so-and-so, and he is in charge of this is so-and-so, he's in charge of this, so it's all great. So the GM with great charisma jumped up and talked about the great vision IXL needs to achieve, and Then in order to be more personalized, he talked about, hey, Christoph, like the things you do. Hey, Peter, like the things you do. Oh, David, like the things you do. Guess who's the one get overlooked? Me, Haifeng Li. It was bloody to me, and I didn't feel great, as you can always appreciate. And I don't think my group was appreciated that moment either. So after the meeting, I spoke to the VP of engineering. I said, what happened? And he said, I am just so sorry, Haifeng. What he did probably is not professional, and I can't explain. But one thing that I think might have something to do is he forgot your name. And I'm like, oh God, this is the reason? And I told myself, my next job, I gotta change my name. And surely Excel went down like a snowball and just went down. And 3 months later, I got a job in ADP. And my name became Max Lee. And so this, I think, is a good example of what a glass ceiling is called when my group, which is actually the biggest consulting group, was just passed over because they can't remember the name of the head of the department. But I would say recognizing the existence of the glass ceiling, for me, is a motivation to break it, not to be confined by it, and certainly not to further build the glass ceiling. So blame our situation on glass ceiling is probably the easiest thing to do, as it doesn't cost much. But I can tell you, it's also the most harmful thing to our community, because it drains our energy and give us excuses of not trying, of not pushing us out of the comfort zone. Because there's a glass ceiling. What for? I can't do anything. So please don't fall into this trap. We can do it. And in today's corporate America actually talks a lot about diversity. Not because someone has a great heart, all of a sudden want to break the glass ceiling for you. There's a lot of economics behind it. Just a few months ago, we had an offsite. And someone came up with a very interesting observation. The observation was 70+% of our user base are female. And he said, look around the table, except for one, we're all male. We're all male that's leading the product development to provide a product that's mostly for females. Guess what? There's something wrong here, and we all agree, by the way. And also, in the corporate, we call EDOD, Executive Development and Organization Development sessions, a lot of discussion was put on the organization succession planning, but we always have one section talk about female hypos, high potentials, and other minority high potentials. They are listed separately. So there is a good concerted effort to promote diversity, to knock off the glass ceiling. So we all share the responsibility to break it. But also, again, very interestingly, I found we, as this community, helped a lot to build the glass ceiling. Knowingly or not knowingly. Think about it. How many times we use the phrase, 他们美国人? So what about we Americans? I am not here to give a patriotic speech. That's not my job. But don't get me wrong. When we try to divide ourselves amongst the groups, others put us into groups. When we say 老印,老中,老美, we tried real hard to create the barriers. If it's not glass ceiling, it's glass wall. We try to box ourselves into it. So I would certainly encourage that every one of us in our professional life, don't get trapped in that, how many times in cafeteria or in conference rooms, we group by our ethnic background or the project we worked on? Come on, don't do that. Reach out to others who you don't know, to others you may meet tomorrow in your career. Reach out. You'll benefit a lot. So I hope that you don't come away thinking that this is a traitor. I'm not. But you do need to feel proud to be here, to be part of this community, and don't bury yourself into it. All right, so pay attention to our appearance, as it often is a reflection of our confidence. And as I said, executive presence and being able to mix around, these are all great things that we should do. And there is a program called Dress for Success. And I read a few articles, and we actually, in our major accounts, executive team talked several times. And I do, sitting in the boardroom, feel that at this level, people who come to the room almost never underdressed, and they always dress very appropriately. Also, cherish our ethnic background, no question, but also be respectful to other ethnicities. In the workplace, I am a big proponent to use English. When you group together, talk especially loud in other language, you put a barrier in front of you and other people. So that's something I observed many of us are doing. And if this is how you're comfortable to do it, great. I don't think there's any problem, and there's no HR rule. There's not even a legal boundary. But again, as I said, you can achieve success in many forms. But if you want really to achieve, quote unquote, the client corporate ladder, this is something you need to pay attention to. Lastly, I just want to say you have to put your heart to work. And it's this extremely competitive environment. And if you want to get ahead, you must be prepared to go above and beyond. So things like 8 to 9, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, whatever that is, schedule, or I get to spend a lot of time browsing internet, or I get to run a lot of errands during the work time. Again, I'm not saying you cannot do it. It's not for me to say. But if you want to achieve corporate success, cut it out. Not going to work. Let's just put our heart into our work, and you have to love it to achieve it. So above all, use our wisdom, our education to our advantage. And I think if I have achieved a certain level of success in corporate America, many of us who wants to achieve has also the opportunity to achieve. And just leave to us to do what it takes. Thank you very much. Thanks for all.
Thank you so much, Max. Now it's time for questions.
So I have a loud voice, so I'm taking off that microphone. 中文也可以。
Max, obviously 你的那个英文 presentation 都做得非常好，当然也跟你这个多年来的这个因为工作的原因，这个机会 practice 很有关系。 另外一个呢，那我就curious，就是说你有没有故意的，就是有意识的 practice， 在这个 meeting 上，在这个大众上，这个 practice 这些 presentation， 然后有没有些什么 tips 什么之类的？
那绝对是每一个 presentation 之前我会花很多时间，包括第一个我跟你讲的那个例子，那个我们 CIO 和 CTO， 我至少花了1个礼拜时间，把 presentation 和 demo 安排好，每一个字，每一句话，我全斟酌过，包括今天这个，我整个早上我 practice 3遍，我把很多东西。我把很多东西去掉了，我觉得不 appropriate 的东西去掉了，包括今天 wife 在外面打电话回来，说我可能晚点，我说不行，你不能做那个事，你回来坐在我前面听我说，因为我偏必须要有人我才有感觉嘛，对吧？所以的确这不容易，要 practice well prepared before you come up because you don't have a lot of opportunities to score.
Talk. One quick question. How much do you think that your good looking help you to get where you are? Number one. Number two is how much your IT, I'm not sure, I don't know that way, I haven't read this, whatever is on the web. How much IT technology or expertise have helped you to get what you are?
Well, I can tell you that there are many things that help me get ahead, but good looking is not one of them. Sure. And in terms of technology, yeah, I still consider myself technology person in heart, and I also want to consider myself as actually an architect. Now, one interesting thing is, I've never tried to consider myself as a technology person. And I didn't know that I actually liked them, and I didn't know that I could be good at it. It's all forced into the situation. I came to the United States, and as one wise man told me, that here, you don't really need to speak English, you just need to be able to speak C, which is another language. And that got me the hint. I really learned. By the way, in the year 1991, I came to University of South Carolina, and I saw someone was constantly doing this on the desk, and I said, "What the heck are you doing? Why do you do this?" By the way, she was also Chinese. She looked at it, and turned out, "You've never seen this as a mouse." And I said, "Wow, computer can use this to point." So I didn't know it, but I actually tried real hard to learn computer. I learned my first computer language C in year 1991. But after a while, I think I really loved it. I got a pretty good understanding. Of course, I have a lot of mentors that helped me to get there. And I think the understanding of how technology works and how technology can be used in our real life to improve our value is extremely important. And I see many moved up the rank without knowing much technology, but also in these days, there's a more and more tendency for executives to actually know what the technologies are and how can it be used to increase our knowledge. Hopefully that answered your question. At least I know I answered the first question pretty well.
我想问一个问题啊，就是你刚才讲，就是说你要从这个 comfort zone 要 get out， 这个讲法我觉得不错。我想问一下，就是有的东西挑战性比较大，有的东西呢可能就是容易做 least resistance， 这两个东西，你就是说有的人就喜欢做就是容易做的事情，你 你是要接受这个挑战呢，你还是说这两个你都可以做，要 balance 一下？好，谢谢。
我觉得这个非常难说，因为如果是你的1年365天全接受这种很可怕的挑战的话，大概你也不会满意。所以我刚才讲了，有很多事情我非常遗憾当时没有去，可是也有原因，因为我不能够把每个富有挑战的东西全拿在手上，把我自己 push out of the comfort zone. It's not going to work. 所以 important， 你要 know what you're doing, know what risks you can take, know what challenges you can overcome. You just can't go blindly say, I want to do this, I want to do that, and the result is probably almost you're going to fail in most of them. And the corporate America, you can fail once or twice, but if your failure rate is high, you ain't going to get a good opportunity.
Max 你好，刚才听你讲到的话，你讲到建立 network 和 collaboration 的重要性，想问一下你在你的过程中，你觉得你建立的这个 network 和你特别是和你老板和你的那个老板的老板建立这个 network 的时候，你有什么经验？或者说另一方面说，当你作为一个 senior VP 的时候，你觉得哪一种你的下属用的方式建立这种 network， 你觉得你可以 acceptable， 或者觉得你最满意的？好，谢谢。
我很显然，我说建立 network，and first of all， 绝对不是去 suck up， 绝对不是讨好。这我觉得不可能有长久的，不可能有 respect of relationship。比方说，但有的时候事情非常非常 sudden。我看到什么事情了，我觉得事情做得很好，我有时候会寄个 email 给几个人，我认为他们 involved. Guess what? 95% of the email recipients never respond. Sometimes 有的时候你会有几个 actually respond， 但不管他 respond to your email， 他还 expand。他把他的事情起因和后果和将来会出现什么事情，他都会写上去，你就立刻就感到这个人有点与众不同。从这点上，你很难说 you see the integrity inside, but you do see the passion inside. 所以一个很好的 trick 是吧？你老板给你来 email 了，或者老板的老板给你来 email 了 ，just respond, take the time, write what's important. Ignoring it, not going to cause damage, but it's not going to do too much good either. 的确有很多事情只可言传，不是只可言传。是吧？因为很难说嘛，有很多地方事情都是不一样的，人也不一样。你当然要知道你跟什么人打交道，就跟我刚才讲的，套用一个模式不可能的。You gotta understand what others are thinking, what others needs before you can react before you can act.
Hi Max, thank you for your presentation today. It's really inspiring and helpful. I was wondering, could I ask you 2 questions here? The first one is...
You already asked one, so you get one more.
Okay. The first thing is, you're talking about when you came across with some problems that need to be solved by the cooperation with the people from the other groups. It would be a very good opportunity for you to stand out if you can solve it by yourself instead of getting involvement of your boss. And you said that very few people can do this. I was wondering why, where the barrier is to doing this cooperation without the boss involvement in the company, and how do you do to solve this problem? The second I'm sorry, the second question is, do you think your MBA degree is helpful for your promotion to the vice president? Thank you.
Well, let me reverse order. So I asked the second question because it's a bit easier. I'm not sure MBA degree itself helped me to achieve my, let's say, senior vice presidentship. I don't know, but it does help a great deal. I remember, but I think I got my MBA degree in year 2003. It took me a long time to get it, between kids and tennis and everything. It took me a few years, but I got it in 2003. And at that time, I was still working in the small business unit, and I had to travel to Miami, which is the business unit's headquarters. And without knowing, I made an appointment with the then president of that business unit, and he happened to be now CEO of ADP. His name is Carlos Rodriguez. So I made an appointment with him, which is my opportunity to establish connection. I went into his office, and guess what? The first thing he said to me, "Congratulations, Max, I heard you got your MBA degree." Wow. To me, people are looking for it, because it does not necessarily that you learned much about MBA. Actually, I think I forgot everything, except for one class at the time, I didn't pay much attention. It's called corporate culture. At that time, it didn't mean much to me, and but this has happened to be the last one the only one that I still remember. But it's important. It's important because you started to think like you're an MBA, and others know your ambition, that you want to achieve something different. MBA helps. And I'm just so sorry, I forgot the first question. Can you say it again? I hope you still remember that.
Okay, thank you for answering. My question is, you said when you came across with a problem that need to be solved by cooperation with the people from other groups, it will be a very good opportunity for you to stand out if you can solve this problem by yourself instead of get your boss involved. So my question is, what's the you said that very few people can do this. Most of the people are not be able to do this. So my question is, what's the barrier do you think it is for people to solve this kind of problem by themselves? And how did you do that? How did you fulfill that?
So for that, again, comes back to the same question. For others who need to work with you to solve that problem, what's their stake in it? Right? So it's not a direct working group. So people ask, why am I supposed to do it? My boss didn't tell me to do it. So what's at stake for me? And this comes from a point, first, again, you need to understand others in order for others to work with you. Second, it actually shows the leadership style. One thing I want to correct is actually not going in to solve the problems yourself, because it's great, but you're still an individual contributor. Important is, how do you work with others so you get a group to solve it? And it's more important that you can actually get others who does not report to you or doesn't even understand what's at stake to work with you. And guess what people are looking at? This is manager and leaders' traits. And you will solve this problem today, you will solve bigger problems tomorrow. Not just by yourself, but by the way you work with others, the ability to influence others. So talking about techniques, I guess it's going to be pretty hard to have a set technique. As again, I said today many times, if there's something like that, I won't be the first one to tell, because 很多先驱者早就发现了. So you have to feel your way.
Max 你好，那个这 present 非常有意思。你举了一个很好的例子，说如何 breaking 这个 glass ceiling， 举了一个名字很重要，这个我深有体会。我想问你一个问题，大家都知道，这就是说这个团队精神啊 ，reach out 的，这都是一些技术问题。你在这个刚才这位先生也说了，实际上在 promotion 中间 social network， 中国句话关系，美国 social network 很重要。你在 after work 或者 weekend， 你跟你们老板和其他人怎么互动的？能不能 share 一下你的心得体会？
我跟你讲，我是一个 introvert。So 我们在 Briggs and Myers 的那个 study 后面讲 ，What's the difference between an introvert and extrovert? After a long day meeting, the extrovert will say, "Hey, let's get out to the bar and let's have a great beer." And introvert will say, "Yeah, it's a long day. I kind of want really go back just by myself and get some rest." So extroverts draw energy from others, and introverts tend not to. But so when you get home, the extroverts are having great time having a beer, and you get a call from a friend of yours. I got a problem. Can we meet somewhere? I'd like to have a drink. And you will say, "Oh yeah, great," because you know it's not really you don't have energy, but you like the ways you deal with the ones you're familiar with. So I don't go out to the bar with my coworkers, very seldom, and I have never been in a bar with my boss. Many of them, I've never been there. So it doesn't take this kind of connection to get anywhere, and I don't think you really need to. Introverts and extroverts have our own ways of dealing with things, and both can be successful. So when you're talking about, again, connection, people really need to understand your value. To understand what you can bring, what you're going to bring on the table to solve the other's problem, to enhance the corporate value chain. Once you have that, a drink, a beer after work isn't really that important. That's my reflection on that.
Yeah, 这是 one more comment， 就是说你如何去理解一个 high level to the abstract，low level to the detail。就是是不是在你这个 level， 你觉得这句话对不对？
这句话一半对一半不对，因为我觉得在我的工作中，我觉得我的成绩很大是因为我 pay attention to details， 很多 attention to details。是不是你不 pay attention to details 你就不能成功？我觉得很难说。很多 leader came up through the rank by being visionary。有一个讲二战时候 Eisenhower 不是个 military strategist， he's a great politician。George Patton, he is one of the best military strategists, but he's the boss. Eisenhower is the boss of the boss. 所以有这种情况，你不必 pay attention。但是我觉得对于我来说，或者说我没有 push myself out of my comfort zone enough。我觉得我的 comfort zone 还是在 understanding technology, understanding the details, and push through details。另一半对的什么呢？你的确是要有 vision。所以刚才那个前主席说印度怎么样？印度怎么样？2007年，我第一次，2006年我第一次去印度。我们很大的 group 在印度，我第一次去印度。哎，我1个礼拜的 visit， 我回来以后，我就是 I'm so impressed。为什么？我当时还很多的 talk about architecture， how to define a problem, solve a problem。我们在那个印度里头，整个就像在西方教育出来的 MBA， 讲的是 accountability， 讲的是 innovation， 讲的是 associate engagement。这个不懂这个，不怎么讲这个，不能把它贯通到你自己的整个过程中，整个 management thought process 和 leadership thought process， 我估计你很难做得更好，所以两个人都要有。对于我来说，我非常 enjoy having both， 但是有一条我刚才讲了，去到印度，我觉得，哎，人家为什么I don't care about first marriage or second marriage， 但是我觉得，在他们那边有很多 thought process rather different。我觉得我们这边在中国人中也开始逐渐有很多这样的人有这种想法，但是我觉得人家新鲜吗？
Max 你好啊，是这样子，我的问题呢有点和前面这个年轻人提的问题有点相似。第一个问题啊，就是说我的更细节细一点，就是说我相信在一个你的在 manager 的时候，你的组织你的这个 team 里边肯定有很多的这个人呢有不同的这个 background， 那么他们可能有不同的这个 personality。在这种情况下，就是说，你在工作中或者一般来讲是怎么样，就是说来 manage 不同的这种具有 personality 的人？谢谢。
我觉得这个非常好的问题啊，因为跟我刚才讲的 theme 其实很接近。我认为你最大的成功、最重要的一条 is to understand others。所以有很多人的确他有不同的 ego， 不同的 background。有些人对这个问题的想法比较容易接受 than the others。所以的确这是一个最后面做到的，就是说是一个整个的一个大 balance。你像我下面有几个 VP， 有的人非常 aggressive， 他是要把事情做好，你几乎可以把所有事情都交给他，包括他把事情做得非常好，还给你 innovate。有的人就不一定能做到，看家的，把事情做得非常漂亮，不出事儿，但是是不是能够 bring organization to a higher level 很难说，但是你都需要这样的人，所以这个 balance 非常的微妙。当然，你如果说 manager 你下面有几个人，你一定要懂得他们的想法怎么样更能 motivate 他们，怎么样能 bring the best out of them。其实人家讲 management is an art, not a science. Can't be repeated. You can only feel the way in. 我这个真的还有好几次没有这个什么。Let's do some collaboration.
很高兴你这个演讲非常好，是不是？就是我接着问题一直在想，就是呢，就是刚才 Heather 是前会长也提了，就是一婚二婚，是不是？就是跟印度的这个 IT 团体比较，是吧？这咱们中国人就是怎么能够，是吧？一个就是说能够跟其他团体互相合作，但是又怎么能够互相提携？比如说你在